Have a seat. If you're a man, you unfortunately have the potential to be a rapist. You probably have the required organs, and physical strength isn't even necessary for the act. Worst of all is the fact that you are programmed on a genetic level with an overwhelming desire to pass on your DNA under any and all circumstances. We as a species have a long and brutal history in which the act of rape was commonplace and looked upon as a very slight crime, if not even a crime at all. But when you flash forward to the present, when the rough statistic is that 1 of every 4 women has been raped at one point in her lifetime, we find rape as an act which happens under a completely new set of motives. I often speak to men who claim they hate rapists and that they'd kill one on sight, throwing nothing but blind anger and disdain in the direction of the act. Gentlemen, anger is not the answer. It never has and it never will be. The solution to rape and why it is so commonplace is demystification, understanding what drives men to the act so that you will never be among their numbers. And do not think for a moment that such a warning doesn't apply to you. You have the organs, you have the genetic drive, and under the wrong circumstances, you'd be horrified to learn what you're capable of. The objective of this podcast has always been to leave no stone in the human mind unturned, no Pandora's box unopened. The only true way to subdue your genetic programming is to understand it, and by the end of this session, you will. As you well know by now, Americans tragically live in an advertising environment which is built from the ground up to prey upon fear and insecurity in order to sell products. Convincing the buyer that they are incomplete without certain goods and services is a surefire way to get those products to sell. Even using sex to sell is just one more way of leveraging insecurity. Attempting to convince the customer that their odds of getting laid will be better after buying a certain product, and that the customer is incapable of attracting potential mates without it. This is where the problem starts. Young men grow up in a media absolutely saturated with sex. From the media's tainted perspective, sex is everywhere. Everyone is having it, and if you're not having it, then by their standards, something is clearly wrong with you. By the same standards, women are not people. Always scantily clad on the covers of magazines, they are objects of desire. Highly judgmental objects. Objects which demand that their men look a certain way via means of fitness pills and exercise equipment, that they fit into a certain mold of image, and always be a fantastic lover. And they want you as a man to feel that you are nothing without a woman. So much so that the mere absence of a woman in your life feels like an unending rejection. It is not difficult to see why young men grow up hating women, when they live in a world which is constantly trying to convince them that women are the answer, but that they will always be beyond their reach. Rather than hate the advertising for painting a false picture of reality, they despise women for holding this imaginary power over them. A poll revealed that 70% of rapists, when asked for a reason as to why they did it, said that they didn't want the sex to have to be good. To these men, that's what rape was. It was freedom from the imaginary judgment which they were convinced was being passed upon them by women. They were so afraid of being declared inadequate by a woman that they would rather take sex by force. Gentlemen, this is the point where you need to take a huge step backwards and come to grips with reality. By now, you should understand that most of what you believe about women is very likely false. Women do not make you a man. No woman has any right to judge you because she's a woman, and no lone woman should ever be blamed for this imaginary power which you've been led to believe they hold over you. In the end, you are being led to believe that you have no power of your own, that the only power that matters is the power to attract women, and if you don't possess that power, you are nothing. In all likelihood, the media has been working on your mind longer than I have, instilling within you the aforementioned pitfall beliefs so that you will buy more of their crap in the hopes that it will help you to get sex. It's time to reject the media's tainted perception of reality. The perception that women are not people but are objects which see it fit to pass harsh judgment upon us as men, because it is within that reality that it appears not only acceptable to rape them, but that doing so is an act of reacquiring power which has been taken from you. True power is being in control of your own actions and emotions. To walk the earth as a man who is neither angered nor intimidated by women who have the same personal power, because you understand, despite all the media's brainwashing, that the power of women was not taken from you, and that the only power they hold over you is the power you allow them to hold over you. The pitfall of the rapist is believing that he does not hold this power, and that it must be taken from women. Here and now, reject that notion. Power is only held by those who realize that no other entity in this world will ever hold power over you unless you allow it to do so. Remember that for our future sessions. We're done here.